where do we even start with that game? That's one of those games, yeah, where you just have to put it in the back of your mind. Forget it ever happened. It's not going to be kind of one of those classics that you think of in a few seasons. It's not one where you can really come up with too many takeaways for either side, to be honest. It was decided by a goal that was always going to be the goal that decides that kind of game. A deflected screamer from your left center back. But yeah, honestly, put it in the back of your mind, keep it moving, go on to next week, because that first half in particular, the second half wasn't much better, but that first half in particular is just so discombobulated, so uncertain. There's not much to take from that tactically. There's not much to take that from a quality point of view, from a wow factor point of view, from an entertainment point of view. It's just the most nothing 90 minutes you are ever going to see. Awful. Let's talk about Man United. I think we got away with one today. I'm not going to come out here and say Fulham were absolutely dominant and they should have won this game 3-0. They had their chances. They probably created more than United today. I wouldn't say they created much more, but they could probably feel like they should have drew this game. But from a Man United point of view, that was bad. That was really, really bad, especially on the ball, right? These guys, in terms of build-up, it's so lethargic, it's so predictable, it's so slow and pedestrian. And I'm looking at the players, and I'm looking at the manager as well, too. Because I do feel like, although some things are out of Amorim's control here, and I have a level of sympathy towards him for the entire situation, I do think build-up-wise, right, it is so bad. Andre Onana, I'll say it again, yeah? There's this myth, and I think it's a myth at this point, that he's this all-world ball-playing goalkeeper. I think he has some facets to his passing game that are at a high level. I think short passing, the line-splitting passes, composure on the ball, he does to a pretty good level. But my word, this guy, in terms of long balls, long passes, long lofted passes into his attackers, I think he misses the target on about 90% of them. 90% of his long passes end up going out of bounds or over his attacker's head or to another opposition player. And it's crazy because part of the allure with Onana was he was going to unlock this new side of our play that we previously weren't getting with De Gea. We haven't gotten that with Onana. Let's call it what it is now. It's been a year and a half with him. That side of his game for me is a myth. But then you look at the back three as well too, right? And I'm looking at Maguire and De Ligt for this one. De Ligt on the ball is just uncomfortable. And it's even worse when it's him, Mazraoui on the right, who finds it very uncomfortable playing that wide and that high up, and then Ugarte right in front of them. That midfield, that little trio, of players in possession on the ball, in the positions they're being asked to play, at times can look really, really ugly. The only one in terms of build-up that actually gives us something is Lisandro Martinez. And I feel for him because he's playing these passes into his attackers. He's fizzing them in. And they're mostly going to one player who I'm about to talk on really, really quickly. But even Lisandro, he has the capacity to play those balls out. And he is, for me, the best player we have in build-up. But even him slows it down so much. And it boils my blood seeing Man United on the ball in the first phase. And a defender looks at everyone and is like, slow down, calm down, calm down. Mate, we're playing at 1 mile an hour anyways. If anything, let's add some impetus to our play. Let's add some urgency to our play. Because at the moment, we're slower than molasses at the moment, man. Honestly, it's so easy to defend Man United when they have the ball in their own third. Just sit off them. Just sit off them. They will make their own mistakes as it comes. They will not threaten you whatsoever when they have the ball near their own box. But let's talk about Lisandro, right? Because Lisandro, first of all, wins us the game today with that goal. Deflected, yes, but wow, what an effort it was as well, too. I think he's lucky to be on the pitch, to be honest with you. And he's got to take this side of his game out. I don't know what it is, right? I don't know if he's trying to play the act of a hard man. We know Lisandro is a tough guy, right? And he makes us, he's very sure to remind us of that. He's an aggressive guy. He plays on the edge. But this is the second time now. The first one was against Palace at the start of the season, actually, where he's going into these two-footed jumping tackles that if he times them incorrectly, I think he's gotten lucky twice now. If he times them incorrectly, he's going to break the opposition's leg. He's going to severely hurt someone. And today, he tries it on Adama Traore, who he had a little bit of an altercation with at the beginning of the season, first game of the year. He tries it on Adama. A, he's lucky he doesn't seriously injure Adama. But B, he's seriously lucky he doesn't injure himself. But forget about that. He keeps playing these passes into the attacker's feet. And it keeps going, or it keeps being directed at one player. That player is Rasmus Hojlund. And today, let today be the day that everybody who has just been holding out hope and being optimistic, and I get it, you want to be optimistic as a fan, but at some point, you have to draw the line. The buck has to stop here. This guy's not it. This guy, Rasmus Hojlund, is not it. Don't lie to your eyes. Don't lie to what your eyes are telling you. This performance, he got hooked after 50-something minutes. That performance today is what United fans used to basically turn their back on Lukaku with. If Lukaku used to put in performances similar to that in terms of he couldn't make it stick, his first touch was off, and United fans eventually couldn't stand him. And they gave up on Lukaku. That performance from Rasmus Hojlund today is worse than any performance Lukaku ever gave us. And Lukaku, I'm not trying to rewrite his time at Man United, but Lukaku used to get killed for half of the performance that Højlund gave us today. Half of it. Højlund in the first half lost the ball 10 times. And it's not like he's losing the ball trying to dribble 5 players or like he's being defended especially well. The ball's being played into his feet or being played to his chest or being played to his kneecap, and he cannot control the ball. He is literally such a mess in terms of his technical ability at the moment that there's no point in playing him. I was baffled that he played the game, and I was baffled that he stayed up. That first half, he could have been hooked off at the first half. He could have. We've always had this thing with Højlund, right? Because his biggest fans are always a big fan of his physical profile. That's all you hear about Højlund. Oh, he's an athlete. He's his physical assets, his speed in behind, his physicality for his age. It's all like we're talking about like a bodybuilder right now. Guys, we're talking about footballers here. And the way Højlund gets described is like a WWE star. But here's the gag, right? We talk about his physical profile, and yet he gets physically bullied by every single defender that comes up against him. He's the easiest attacker in the entire league to play against. I always say as an I never played as a defender, but if I were to think as a defender here, I would love to play against players that make life easy for me. Rasmus Hojlund makes life extremely easy for defenders because you know he's not going to be able to hold you off. You're going to easily bully him off the ball. You know more time than not he's not going to be able to make it stick. You know every time a ball gets put into the box, more often than not, his run is not going to be directed towards the ball. He's always going to be in the wrong place. He's the easiest striker to defend against. And you know what it is, yeah? People can get on to me about what I said about Xerxes, how I would have sold him in January. But one thing I've always said about Xerxes, I was strongly against the way he was treated against Newcastle. Booed and cheered off, basically, like jeered off. I was strongly against that because the reality is Xerxes, he's a victim here, right? Look, he's in a tough situation. The team doesn't really play for him. I don't think he has a great role in this team. And I'm still not fully sold on Xerxes. But it was harsh to boo and jeer him. Xerxes got that treatment after 5 months. Rasmus Hojlund has been here a year and a half. And big sections of this fan base are still trying to justify his inclusion in teams. Are still trying to paint the image that he's a top-level striker. Guys, we're talking Rasmus Hojlund, the same level of the likes of Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Cameron Archer. That's his level. At the moment, Premier League football as a starting number 9, forget about Man United. Premier League football is too high a level for Rasmus Hojlund. Either you got to send him on loan in the summer or you got to cut your losses. Whether you believe in his potential that much, if you do, send him on loan. He's not ready for this league, bro. He's not ready for it. He cannot come up against any center back and look convincing, whether it's Lewis Dunk, whether it's Joachim Anderson, whether it's the guys who were playing for Southampton the other day, Bednarek. Everyone he comes up against, he struggles against. I'm sorry, the Bucks got to stop here, man. The Bucks got to stop here. That first half performance, we used to laugh at Lukaku for that. People used to make Timberland jokes about Lukaku for putting in those kinds of performances. And get this, Lukaku was deemed by the entire fan base as not good enough. Lukaku scored 20 and 15 goals in his 2 seasons at Man United. Rasmus Hojlund, they told us a stat today on the TV, and I was baffled. I'm actually shocked. Højlund has failed to score in 36 of his 48 games that he's played for Man United. So he's made 48 appearances for Man United. He's failed to score in 36 of them. In 36! So people will talk about, at one point they were gassing up his, the amount of goals he's scored in a certain amount of games. But the kicker is, he's only scored in 12 Premier League games. Last season, he went like 15 games without a goal, scored in 7 games straight, and then didn't score again for the next 15 games. We signed him for £72 million. This isn't a kid from our academy that we got for free and you can afford to show a little patience here. £72 million, you expect a certain level of certainty. I get at his age, you're not going to get the full package. But at £72 million, this is not good enough. This is so far behind the standards of how much that amount of money should be getting you. You can't excuse it. And I'm sorry, anybody who has still been pulling the sympathy card for him, this pity card, he doesn't deserve it. His performances are shocking. If you really believe in his potential so much, so be it. But please, please do not try convincing me right now that this guy's a Man United striker. I've seen Man United strikers. Even post Sir Alex Ferguson, I've seen Man United strikers. This guy is amongst the worst that we've had. He's amongst Out of the ones that we've had post-Fergie, Falcao was really bad. He was coming off injury, by the way. But Falcao was really bad. So I'd put him below Højlund. He couldn't even run. Outside of that, Weghorst was really, really bad. But you know what, with Weghorst, he could at least hold up the ball. Weghorst was crap, but he could hold up the ball. Ighalo, he's Ighalo level for me. That's what we're talking about with Rasmus Hojlund. Forget the Ibrahimoviches, the Cavanis, the Cristianos, the Lukakus. He's not better than any of them. He's maybe a little bit above Falcao because how bad Falcao was for us. He's around Weghorst and Ighalo level, except he cost 72 million pounds. Those two were alone. I'm seriously concerned, and you should be too. Outside of that, seriously, it's very difficult to come up with too many takeaways from this game. Ahmad scored a goal towards the end that very harsh to be considered offside. But you know what it is with Ahmad, right? I love Ahmad, and I think he's been Man United's best player, and I almost feel with United, if Bruno or Ahmad don't create a moment of magic, United are not scoring. But for the good of the team, I think Ahmad has to play at right wing back, guys. As long as we don't sign a wing back, as much as I love Ahmad at number 10, it's not a slight at Ahmad. He's pulled wonders in that position for us. He's saved us. But I actually think that the team might operate better if he's playing at wing back. Because, guys, we have no progression from either Dalot or Mazraoui. The two guys get the ball in attacking positions, and it's like their heads fog up. And I'm really not even blaming them too tough. They don't play in that position. This formation, at its full capacity, should be operating as a 3-4-2-1. With Mazraoui and Dalot, we play 5-2-3. 5-2-3. No wonder we look so defensive. No wonder we look like we can't create chances. Today, Lisandro scores a screamer. It's a fluke. Let's be real. There's a huge element of luck there. If he doesn't score that goal, Man United didn't look like threatening once this game. We're playing Fulham. No disrespect to Fulham. They've had an amazing season for their standards. We should not be struggling as much against these teams. It's a big win. I'm very happy that we won the game. I'm not happy with the performance. I'm very happy with the win because we needed it, first of all. And you look at the next few games for Man United, and I have them all in front of me. Crystal Palace at home. We have to win that game. We have to. Forget about should we or we have to win these games. Spurs away from home. They're drowning. We have to win that game. Everton, that's going to be a tough game because Moyes has these guys looking extremely compact. We have to win that game. Ipswich at home, we have to win that game. The next 4 games are winnable games. I'm not saying every game's going to be tough for Man United because right now, we don't look convincing against anyone. But on paper, these are straightforward games for us, bro. It's not Bournemouth, Forest. Those teams will really give us issues. These guys, we have to pick up results from those games, man. So I'm very happy because Fulham away from home have, first of all, they've been a tough team for numerous big sides, whether it was Liverpool, whether it was City, whether it was Arsenal, Chelsea. It's big that we got a result away from home. But you look at the fixtures coming up, Man United need to get points on the board in as many games as possible because once we start playing any amount of serious teams, the Bournemouths, the Forests, the Brightons as they showed us, the Arsenals, the Liverpools, it's curtains, bro. We don't stand a chance against those teams. These guys, we have to get results, bro. We have to. I want to say again, Toby Collier, I was very impressed with his performance today. Big header off the line. And honestly, I think he has to be playing more. One thing with Amorim, right? I keep saying I have a level of sympathy for him because I think he's in a really tough situation where he's come into a team that were already in the bottom half in a formation that they were comfortable in. And now they're playing in a formation that they're not comfortable in, and we already know they're not great players. So for Amorim, he's not being backed with new players, it seems. And he's being asked to kind of improve players in a system that they're not comfortable with, but the club hired him for that system. So I feel for him. But there's certain aspects of the way we're playing right now that he has to improve. For me, the wingbacks, I'm not going to stop harping on it. He needs to change that up. We cannot continue going into games with Diallo and Mazraoui out wide. We cannot continue going into games with Rasmus Hojlund as our center forward. That has to be scrapped. In the Ugarte and Mainu experiment, well, today he goes for Bruno. And I actually thought Mainu, coming out as a 10, looked a whole lot more comfortable than he does in an 8. Why not continue with that? Or maybe even give Collier a few games. I'd be down for that. And you might be asking me, oh, well, he has to play Højlund. I hear it. He has to play Dalot and Mazraoui. I hear it. But at the same time, too, the season's over. I don't think we're going to get relegated. I think we'll win enough games for that. We're not going to make Europe. In the Prem, why not play the kids? Now, I'm not saying throw these kids into the deep end and because we know, right? You put them in a dangerous position, a really toxic environment like we are right now, they could completely get their development screwed. But at the same time, too, you see with these youngsters, they almost tend to thrive in situations like this because they're playing without fear. At this moment, I find it very difficult to believe that Chido Obi Martin would be any worse than Rasmus Hojlund is up front. At this moment right now, I find it very difficult to believe that those wing backs and those fullbacks and wide midfielders would do any worse in the positions that Dalot and Mazraoui are playing in, week out. I find it very difficult to believe. Collier has come in and shown that in the midfield, he can hang. The level's low. We don't need Collier to come in and look like Pogba. Just come in and play at a respectable level, and he's shown that. I'd honestly like to see that in different positions. I'm not expecting the world that if Chido Obi Martin goes and plays a game for Man United up front, oh, I need 3 goals. But at the moment, what Højlund is giving us week in, week out is so bad that I'm willing to see it from someone else. And I think if Amorim gives these kids a chance, I'll be real. I'm not going to fault him if it doesn't work out. If anything, I'll actually applaud him for showing the courage to drop the bigger established player and give the kids a chance. You look at what he did at Sporting, a lot of it is based on his trust in the young players. It is. I'd like to see similar because right now, the established players that he keeps going with week in, week out, they're not cutting it. Diallo and Mazraoui, how many more times do we have to see that these roles don't suit them? You can think they're good players, but very clearly as wingbacks, long term, it's not going to work. Long term, they won't be playing wingback for Man United. I'd be giving some of the kids a chance. I would like to see that because right now, the way we're playing week in, week out, nothing's changing, guys. We're not playing better as we learn the system. The game today was no different to the game against Southampton. It was no different to the game against Brighton. It was no different to the game against Forest. The only time we ever look decent is when we play a bigger side and we can just basically revert back to counterattacking. But it's very clearly not improving with the system. Give other players a chance or continue pressing the board for signings. Because as long as we have this group that plays week in, week out, how can I expect things to change? I can't. It's the same players week in, week out. I'm seeing some people saying, change the system. For me, the whole thing about, oh, he needs to change the system, it's overplayed. First of all, he's a 3 at the back manager. He has never in his life coached 4 at the back. We hired him to play a formation that he's played his entire career and he's had success in. Why should he come to this club and change the way he plays? For players, by the way, that in his vision, if he succeeds at United, won't even be at the club. I don't buy it. Secondly, when Pep went 1 win in 13, and I'm not trying to compare Pep and Amorim here, but he's just an example. When Pep went 1 win in 13 in this recent season, did we say, Pep, go play 3 at the back? No, we didn't. When Ten Hag was struggling at Man United, did we say, Ten Hag, go 3 at the back? No, we didn't. Why now, when Amorim is struggling, go play 4 at the back? We don't tell any other manager that struggles to change his formation. Tweak it, change players, but change your entire way of playing. We never say that to anybody. If Moyes now loses 6 games in a row at Everton, no one's going to tell David Moyes, go play 3 at the back. They're going to tell him tweak things, but change your entire formation. It's just not logical. It's not logical, and it would basically negate the entire reason why we brought Amorim. If we wanted 4 at the back to accommodate this group of players, you should have either kept Van Nistelrooy, kept Ten Hag, or hired a manager that plays like that. Go hire a counterattacking manager. But if you're going to go with Amorim, which they've committed to, he's got to stick to his system, and they got to invest for him. It looks like we might be getting Dorgu over the line. I'll be real, I haven't watched him. I've seen compilations on Twitter. I'm not going to take too much out of that. We'll see when he gets here. But if he is a wingback that's athletic, that can carry the ball, that's a good 1v1 dribbler, it's immediately an upgrade on what we have out there. The Garnacho news, I'm still waiting to see. I thought Garnacho had flashes today where he actually looked pretty decent. There was a moment today where he's on the left-hand side near the opposition box, really does well to kind of evade a tackle, beat his man, slip through Mazraoui on the overlap, and Mazraoui has to do better there. I thought Garnacho looked good there. I think even in the second half, he had a few moments. Nothing to write home about, but I think he had a few moments. Let's see what happens with him, bro. But one thing is for sure, Antony is gone. We've loaned him out to Betis. Rashford, I think, is going to get his move. I personally believe Rashford will be gone by the end of the window. And that leaves Garnacho, if we can agree a fee, with Napoli or Chelsea. Personally, I think there's a good chance that happens as well too, because United PSR-wise are in a huge hole. I'm going to make a video on that later. If these are 3 attackers going out the door, and our attack is already as weak as it is, Man United has to bring someone in. I've seen the Nkunku rumors on loan. We were linked to Kolo Muani earlier in the window. Mateus Cunha, I think still remains an option for a lot of teams. Let's see. But one thing is for sure, I think Ineos are massively missing the ball if they allow Amorim to basically go through the entirety of January to lose first-team players and not bring anyone in. I think it'll be massively irresponsible. So let's see how it goes. To summarize all of this, really poor showing. I think we were lucky Fulham weren't really that good today. And I think we're lucky as well, too, that Lisandro hits an absolute screamer. But we take it. We move on to Crystal Palace. That has to be a win. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Who is the man of the match? What would you like to see happen this January as well, too? And I'll see you next time. Peace.